Ba, ba, ba.
Hey, what's going on? I'm so excited to release that song as a full piece when I do. That is a 12 and a half minute long piano solo
And y'all are
that
only
you're
getting
only
30.
getting 30 seconds of. It's one of the most complex pieces I ever wrote. And there's work to be done to simplify it in some areas. Um, but it is one of my favorite pieces of music that I've ever written. Um,
Very.
and so help me get to help me get to 250 paid subscribers on Sick of This Shit Publications, and I will release my first piece, which is
There you go.
a flute trio.
Yes.
Then help me get to 300, and I'll release my second piece,
Hey, there you go.
which will be the water jazz, which is the piano solo that you hear at the beginning of this show. Anyway, hi y'all. I'm Nick Paro. Welcome to Banner and Backbone's Palantalk episode 17.
17.
We've been doing this for a while, dude.
17.
17. Don't flock with us. I'm
Don't
Nick
flock
Paro, co-founder here at Banner and Backbone, and I am joined by my good friends and my co-host Shane Yirak, the firebrand, the the mouthpiece in a lot of ways for really good information around tech and around the economy and around what the fuck these idiots are doing. What's going on, Shane Yirak, the Firebrand Project? Everybody, smash that heart. Come on in. Say hi to everyone.
Good
What's going
morning.
on, brother?
Good morning, everybody. It's good to be here with you. It's another Monday in the fascist states of America, and we got to focus on the tech, no fascism part. And we're joined by our great friend and one of my favorite people, Melissa Corrigan. So welcome back again to Palantalk, Melissa. And how are you doing Monday? It's Monday. How are you doing?
How are you doing Monday? It's that kind of Monday.
Yeah.
Is it already? Yeah. It was that
It's
kind of
just
weekend too.
it's one of those weekends where there's so much news on the weekend that Monday already feels like Wednesday, like there's so much.
I've honestly
Yeah.
I don't know, for my own sanity, I have to turn it off. I don't even.
It's a good thing you
I
unplugged.
don't even know what the hell is going on. So I'm sure by the end of this, I'll be sufficiently displeased. But
Yes.
I'll enjoy these next 30 seconds as
Of
I mentally
ignorance.
prepare myself for the onslaught of reality. But no, it is inevitable.
Some days I wish we didn't live in the darkest timelines of sci-fi, and
Yeah.
instead we could enjoy Star Trek.
Yes.
Like the fun, like the world building and the social programs and the space exploration and the medicine of Star Trek. I don't want to
Mhm.
live in Terminator. I want Star Trek. Like, it's not too
Right.
much to ask, is it, guys? One of y'all, couple of y'all billionaires could just give some money back and stop
Couldn't one of the
surveilling us.
billionaires be a good guy?
Yeah,
Just one.
couldn't one
I
of
don't know.
you
I don't know if it's
be
possible.
like Batman or Iron Man
I'm Batman.
instead of Lex Luthor? Like, y'all are Lex Luthor. We
Seriously.
need one superhero, and none of you wanted to build an Iron Man suit and become a
None.
superhero. Instead, you just wanted to be assholes. So
Bullshit.
fuck
You
you
know
guys.
what's crazy is I just started watching The Boys
Oh
again.
God.
And it's like watching it now is like, holy shit. It's just like, it's funny because even like 5 or 6, years ago, I don't remember when the first episode of The Boys came out. It might be longer now. But I remember the first time I watched The Boys, and if you haven't seen that show, like, trigger warning, it is fucking gnarly. It is super
Oh, yeah.
gnarly. But it is also such a spot on example of the whole dystopian reality, and that the idea that if there was superheroes, they would be commercialized in is so on point with the reality that we live in. If you look at like if superheroes appeared tomorrow, someone would corporatize them. They would be above the
Yes.
and they would and the whole plot is basically, I'm not going to spoil it, but it really very much follows the entire concept of you have the rich and powerful, and then they begin lobbying the government, right? And it's like it's just all it's like these things that were supposed to be sci-fi or fiction are just so fucking real at this point.
Yeah.
um, that it's really one of those things, like you said, Nick. It's like, dude, this timeline is just like fucked up. Like, this is just so weird. And I have my own, reservations about certain things, and it's like we live in this moment, and there is give and take. There's positives and negatives of the technology we have, like there is. But it's always interesting to see what someone thought 10 years ago would be not realistic or like fictional, and suddenly it appears to be very in line with a non-fiction take.
Yeah, and one of those things is a subject that we've talked a lot about here on Palantalk, and we continue to bring Melissa back for is flock safety,
Yeah.
and what the fuck is going on in Norfolk, Virginia, because it can impact all of us in either a good or bad way, and it can allow us to hopefully do some citizen-led action that reveals and creates more cases that could possibly create real court precedent and push the surveillance system out of our homes and our neighborhoods. Melissa, can you talk a little bit about flock safety and about the case itself to remind people who might, and to tell people who
Yeah.
might be new here? And then we'll go into some of your latest on what's going around and what's going on in Norfolk itself.
Yes, for sure. So to catch everybody up, Flock Safety is a company that wasn't exactly a brainchild of Peter Thiel, but his money and presence was in the incubator, and until he was asked to leave. And after he was asked to leave, he kept tabs on this particular company, Flock Safety. So Flock manufactures, at this point, they're manufacturing cameras and drones. They've fully expanded into the drone market. They're marketed as license plate reader cameras, and they're sort of sold to the public as this super innocent traffic cam type thing. That is not the entirety of their software. Their software is truly where the constitutional violation comes in. But they have a dashboard called Nova, and that dashboard is one of the most powerful on the market, and it can assemble data from far more data points than just your license plate number. And also, those license plate readers aren't just keeping tabs of your license plate number now, they're also marking identifying information on your car, like damage, different paint colors, like anything like that is also being lumped in, not just your license plate number. Um, but all of this information is being funneled into the Nova dashboard, where it's being combined with law enforcement cameras, body cams, and now we know for sure that ring cameras from private individuals are also being fed into this database. So the more and more robust this dashboard gets, they are almost essentially at the point of being able to build out an entire profile on people, including social media information. Um, on the Nova dashboard. So you can see how that's more than just a license plate reader. So here in Norfolk, the first I found out about it was when they simply put them up. There was no announcement to the public. There was no public information period or feedback period, and there certainly wasn't a vote on it. They just appeared, and they appeared right outside my neighborhood. And to my knowledge at that time, there was only one way in and out of my neighborhood. My son has now shown me a little bit of a backdoor sort of alley out of my neighborhood so I can skip the cameras. But at the time, I was like, hey, there's this one way in and out, and now there's 4 cameras like on every, you know,
It's a four-way
quadrant.
stop.
Yeah, it's a 4-way stop, and there's a camera on every direction.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck is this? So I start trying to look it up. And then a couple days later, the local public radio station had an announcement about what they were. The public radio reporter even asked the chief of police, okay, well, what's your data policy, for the use of the data? And he quite glibly responded, oh, we're writing that now. So they definitely deployed cameras. They had them deployed fully, and police personnel were accessing them for 4 months before any type of policy was ever revealed, released, approved, anything. So there was at least 4 months where officers were accessing these cameras with no guardrails whatsoever. We have no clue what they accessed during that time, other than the fact that they did access it. So the the update is, good and bad. The one thing that we really wanted to win was the argument over the constitutionality, because to me, this warrants, this is essentially warrantless surveillance, which is a violation of the Fourth Amendment. Unfortunately, the Court of Appeals at the beginning of November walked that back, and they reversed Mark Davis's initial ruling that that was the case. And they have said that if you're on public roads, then you have no expectation of privacy, including from being tracked, like actually tracked. And the plaintiffs that brought the lawsuit against the city of Norfolk, asked in discovery for their own license plate information, and the court compelled the police department to provide this, and one of the plaintiffs was tracked over 500 times and one was tracked over 800 times. So they are tracking people. They flat out lied in court and said they weren't, and then had to walk that back.
When you say
So the
tracking,
one, I'm sorry.
yeah, when you say tracking, is it more like, just a point of clarification, or is the system simply notating that they were at a certain point, or is there some sort of prompt? Are they prompting to say, or are they 500 times have they prompted the system to like grab information on this individual, or is it more of like the system has noted and cataloged this person 500
Yes.
times? Okay.
The system has noted it. So they were arguing initially in court that that wasn't what the system did. It wasn't maintaining those touch points. That that came out to be false. They are maintaining those touch points. They had this. The plaintiffs had a expert witness walk through how simple it would be to track someone's entire route through Norfolk, because we now have over 170 cameras, and we're not even that big a city. Like, it's really overkill. They're everywhere. And so he did an entire demonstration of how easy it would be to track someone's movements. The slight win that we did get was, at the end of November, the map was released of all of the locations of the cameras. So if you're actually paying attention and informed, you can use that map to put together a route to get through Norfolk and avoid the cameras. But it's pretty difficult. Like, I looked at the map, and the route I would have to take is absurd. Like, it would take me an hour to get out of the city if I wanted to avoid being detected by a flock camera. And then the most recent update is, of course, that they have deployed drones. And as of 10 minutes before I got on this, I Googled everywhere I could to see if there was any announcement to the people of Norfolk that they do have the drones. Of course, there's not. And in fact, there was a statement a few months ago denying that they were going to use drone technology. And I've shown you guys the videos of the drones outside my house. And I did call the police department, acting like a concerned citizen that was just walking by, and they confirmed those were their drones. So now they're deploying and training officers on drones again with, I'm sorry. Uh-oh. Am I frozen?
Oh,
No.
that was me.
Okay.
I froze there. So,
Okay.
Melissa, can you finish your statement that you were saying? And then I wanted to ask a question about the drones.
Yeah, so I just feel like they're doing the same exact thing as they did with the cameras, is they're just deploying the drones without informing the citizens, without, holding a vote. Are you guys comfortable living somewhere with drones flying around, tracking your every movement? So, to me and my family, like it's been very frustrating trying to inform people in the city. There's a lot of people that kind of have this attitude of like, okay, well, if you're not breaking the law, why are you worried about it? And so, like, okay, I guess I just need to move then. Like, you can live in that type of surveillance state, but part of my frustration with that is that the people weren't informed. There was not informed disclosure, and there certainly was not a vote. And I would think if you're going to use technology that's this invasive, that you would inform the populace first and take a vote. And I know other cities around the country are going back and backtracking and doing that. Denver's got a huge push to take them down. Evanston, Illinois is the one city that like keeps coming to mind that I know they got theirs taken down, and they had to fight the company to take the equipment out. Like if you're just a vendor, why are you doing that? Why are you fighting cities to
The
keep your
irony of
cameras
it,
up?
yeah, really quick, I'm going to throw your question, but there's a statement because the irony of that position that you so commonly hear is, oh, if you're not breaking the law, then why would you worry about being surveilled? What happens when they decide that that orange sweater you're wearing is against the law, bro?
Guess what?
Like, what happens? Like, you're assuming that something like the law is static. Like, it's not
Right,
the idea of not breaking the law. It's the ramifications of if they choose to change the law or whatever the hell they feel like doing, because that's the nature of things at the moment. Then you've already been surveilled. You could do something you think is entirely not illegal, but suddenly
right,
they have a record of you turning left is now illegal on green if you don't yield, right? And they're like, oh, now you're going to fucking jail, buddy, because they've got you at every intersection
right.
turning left on green if there's no one coming the other way. So it's ironic as fuck to me because it's like you just it just shows a level of short-sightedness and and these people are entirely detached from reality. But that's all.
So, Melissa, going back to the drone portion, before we go too far into what's all the rest of the new, plus what we can possibly start doing about things, and how we can act informed as citizenry. Because I'm gonna check in on my town and the towns nearby and see what I can find out for my location. And I'm gonna ask everybody, you should do the same. We're gonna work on making a way to do it so that it's simpler, and we talked about that last week, but I'll get into that in a minute. Anyway, back to the drones. Has there been any more on like flight plans? What types of authorizations do they have? Do they
Oh
need
no,
flight plans? Do they need flight authorization? How does that work being right outside of a military installation and having the city police just have something
yeah.
that can track
Oh,
and
I wanted
trace and
to show you.
surveil
Hold on,
every
hold on,
single
hold on.
service member's ingress and egress routes? Um, to me, this is a national
Where
security
was
risk
that?
that we're allowing these to happen.
There was something I had pulled up now, of course, maybe. Okay. Here it is. Because I knew you'd ask this, because you asked about this the last time. So, how do I turn my camera on Restream?
How
Can
do you
I?
turn it? What?
Let me see if I could turn my camera around. I may just have to do this. Can you see this map here?
Can you send me a link?
Yeah.
If
So,
you can
this is a
message that link to
map
me,
that
I'll put it up on the
someone,
screen.
yeah, that someone had looked in an FAA looked on the FAA website to see where it was allowed to fly drones in Norfolk because of all the military installations. And all of the areas in pink are off limits, which would be way like nowhere near my home, nowhere near where those drones were at all, which the police department did confirm was them. So let me see if I can send you this. But I mean, that's notable is that apparently the FAA rules don't apply to law enforcement. And how is that working? Are we changing legislation in real time? Like, you know, all my issue with so much of this is how clandestine they're being, number one. Flock as a company's behavior with cities. So, like I said, most places where Flock was rolled out, they rolled it out without informing the residents. So that's huge red flag number one. You're supposedly just a vendor, but you're encouraging cities to roll this out without notification, information, and voting.
Yep.
Okay, so why? Oh, I don't know if that'll work. Yeah, shoot, I don't think I can get it to you.
Oh, yep. No, I got it.
Okay, so so there's that is the information piece of it, and then as the cities are starting to roll back, as citizens are becoming self-informed and aware of what these cameras do, and they start rolling back and going to their city and protesting, and some people taking sawzalls and shit and cutting them down themselves, which is also happening.
Yeah.
um, then the cities are going back to Flock and saying, okay, we're going to cancel our contracts. Our citizens are uncomfortable. We did take a vote or whatever it was. And then Flock's behavior after that is bonkers. In Evanston, they refused to take the cameras down to the point the city had to put bags over them while they attempted to take them to court to force them to remove it. If you're just a vendor and somebody cancels their contract with you and says, come pick up your equipment, what are you doing? Like, come pick up your equipment. Why are you fighting to keep your? Then they found Flock employees removing the bags that the city had placed. Okay, so they're fighting this in court. And then Flock started leasing private land throughout the city to put their cameras on the private land so they could continue to keep those touch points after the city cameras came. Like, y'all, this is not vendor behavior. They even attempted to add the they attempted to add themselves as a defendant in the lawsuit here in Norfolk. Have you ever heard of a business going up to a lawsuit and be like, hey, I'd like to join as a defendant? Like, the judge was like, what?
Well,
No, no, that's highly unusual. Why would a vendor want to injure themselves in a lawsuit? You know what I mean? Like, the
yeah,
way
that's
that they handle every aspect of their business is nothing but red flag, red flag, red flag.
I mean, I feel like if they identify themselves right as I mean, I think the goal, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, but it seems like to me the goal is that if they position themselves as a defendant and they can create themselves as an entity that is being wronged in the case of the surveillance network is being wronged by the city and the people, their property, they have a right as an entity to surveil you without any oversight, and they are the ones who are being attacked, right? And then they can set some fucked up precedent where like a surveillance network itself can legally be
Yeah,
has rights, right? Their surveillance
right.
network has its own defensible
yeah.
position. That's
And I'm
This
just
is
glad that
this is
this
what happens when you overturn Roe v. Wade and the Dobbs
right,
decision, because
right.
that was about privacy and not about abortion. That was the big lie about Roe v. Wade. It was just about abortion. It was about privacy and data
Yes.
privacy, and it was the only thing guaranteeing constitutional right to data privacy, and it's now gone. And then Citizens United turned corporations into people,
yep.
which
Right.
means now corporate property is treated like personal property, which it's fucking not. And so you get to surveil people, I guess, through corporate rights, Trump personal rights. So pun intended with
Well,
Trump's name.
the
Like,
good thing is, I feel like this judge is doing his best. He called out when they tried to join the lawsuit with that type of, logic. He called them out and he was like, there is absolutely no realm of possibility that a company that calls itself a vendor would enter unless you have these other, objectives in mind, unless you want to talk about a surveillance network. And that's not what you initially said. You initially said, I'm just a vendor, I just sell cameras. I don't know. Right. So he did that. But you have to remember this judge is presiding over the the region where one attorney has shown up dead in her house. 36-year-old healthy young woman has shown up dead in her house. Two more federal prosecutors have been fired for not doing what Trump wants. I mean, he's seen his local office decimated. Like the Eastern Coast district has been decimated. So I can see how he's proceeding with caution, but I respect the fact that he is still pushing forward. He could have ruled on this at any time. According to what I read this morning, he is still pushing for it to go to trial in February.
so without fear or favor, I'm sure there's some fear in what's going on for this judge, but he's at least working to use the judicial system the way that it's supposed to be, which is without fear or favor,
Right.
which means you cannot threaten or intimidate a judge into giving you what you want. Yeah, I'm glad you're reporting and talking on this and giving us tools. So what are some good tools that you have used to get information that we can create? Because last week on the window of discussion with Senator America, we talked about how we could create tools or we could help groups like Senator America create tools where somebody could, in 5 minutes, file a FOIA request and put in information requests to their local police departments and local city councils to
Yeah.
get these informations and possibly start lawsuits,
So a
and help
FOIA
the starting
request
point.
is a little bit complicated for people who haven't done that before. And it also, they can just come back and say it's a matter of security. We don't have to give you this, blah, blah, blah. But a more public way is to go to your city council meeting and ask these questions in public, in front of cameras, to the city council member space. Start asking, if you've seen these cameras, say, I'd like to know more about these cameras, why they were put up without a vote. I was not informed on what these cameras do, but I'm reading online a lot of very disturbing stuff. I'm reading about other cities who have taken them down. So, as a resident of this city, I'd like for you all to make a plan to inform us, and I'd like to vote on whether or not I want to live in a place where I'm surveilled at this level. Because when I moved into this town, they weren't here, and I'm comfortable, with that. So I think that's going to be a more public, a more productive way of getting this conversation, because it's really going to come from a groundswell in all the cities that have been successful with getting them taken down. It's a groundswell of information, people sharing information with one another, and then going to the city in a very public and loud way and saying, hey, why are you selling our data to big corporations? Why are you tracking our movements around our city? You have to answer to us.
Yes, and I think what you said was a really good part, was do it in person,
Mm-hmm.
so that it gathers real attention, because it's
Yeah.
harder to say no or to shut you down in a public setting like that, where you're guaranteed the right to ask those questions. And if they want to yell at you or tell you you're dumb, well, guess what? It's public record now, and in meeting notes and on camera, that
Mm-hmm.
they are rejecting the voice of the citizenry, and that starts upswells locally. So I'm looking into my local town meetings now, and I'm actually trying to see if I can find in the archive anything about flock safety and when or if they even really had a discussion, because I wrote in my town's name. And so what I wrote was my town, my city, or my town, my state, flock camera city council meeting. The first thing that popped up was past city council meetings focused on this tech, including concerns over privacy and data use, leading to debates and potential contract reviews. It ended up that the city council approved it, even after local, like the first article was local officials unfazed by privacy concerns over surveillance. So they know. They
Yeah.
know that it's a
They're
concern
getting
and they
fucking
know
money.
that
Like,
people don't want it.
it's gotta be. It's that simple. Like, I mean, the only recourse is going to be, either public opinion or, judges, kind of, sort of. Depends on the judge, depends where you're at. But if you really don't want to be surveilled, I suppose you're going to probably want to count on those in your communities with an extra, tree pole, for sawing branches, who are going to probably walk around and cut those things down. Right. Like, because like it's important we're candid here. And it's not going to be unique to Nick's town, where the
Right.
city council is going to pass this shit without caring. Like what happened in Norfolk is not going to change. Like, if again, like when we're talking about local governments, they're honestly often worse or as bad as the federal government, because they don't make as much money, but the corporate political money does. They're more than willing to pay the local people, just as much as they're willing to pay a congressman, because at the end of the day, the amount of data that a small town is going to provide their network is worth that money to them. And these people will often take less money. So it's like, as much as like, it's like what, Melissa said, it's important to go to the town hall and say it to their face. And, like you're saying, Nick, put them in the position where everyone sees that they're doing it despite the fact that people are actively saying, hey, I don't want to be surveilled. I don't want to have a data profile built on me. And they do it anyway. But, it's like, it's one of those things where I think we have kind of like two choices. I mean, one, build the map, like do all those things. I'm not saying don't do that. Like go to the town hall. I'm not saying don't do that. But like they're there, and people really in a community have two choices. They can either put the bag over the camera themselves, or they can be surveilled. Like that's reality,
Yeah.
because the court's not going to turn it off, the government's not going to turn it off, and it's like I'm
And this
I'm
is
not saying
where
to do anything. What I'm saying is that those are a community's options, realistically.
Yeah,
And
and it really
and
sucks because they have clustered them in low income areas. And here in Norfolk, if you remove or damage one, because I'm going to be honest, people in my neighborhood like don't fuck with that. So the first camera went up, and within a week, somebody ran it over. And then it was backed up, a couple weeks later. So what they're doing here is they've made it a crime to damage the camera, and you have to pay
yeah,
for it. And they're between $5,000 and $6,000
yeah,
each. And I just think like everything that's happening in America, they have played the long game and waited for this. They had to wait for all those World War II vets to die, because my grandfather would have gone out there with his little multi-tool and disassembled it. He wouldn't have damaged the fucking thing, but he would have disassembled it and taken it to City Hall and put it on the front steps. Been like, I don't know if you think this is Russia or China, but you're not putting a camera focused at my property. Like, no. And probably there are tons and tons of other World War II vets that would have done the same thing. They would have just disassembled them and said, you're going to take this back. We didn't vote on this. I didn't vote for this. So the fact that they waited for bullshit like this until most of these vets have died off is like, that goes back to other stuff. Like I've read Jesus and John Wayne and the absolute long con of the Christian nationalist movement, but it all plays in because those type of dudes would not have put up with surveillance cameras in their neighborhoods. Like not even a little bit.
yeah, no, totally agree. I will not argue with that specifically, because that would happen. And that's the thing. There are ways that you can do these acts peacefully as well. Is especially once a court has ruled, once the court and the judge has ruled on the and if there's a jury within it, or if it's just a bench trial, whatever, whoever has ruled and made the adjudication for this, unless it's put on hold for some reason, is if your town, say, or your county judge decides that for your county or your district, these cameras no longer are allowed to be up, and the city should bag and place bags on them. If they are bagged and then say those bags are removed, I would argue, and I'm not a lawyer, so this is not advice on what you should or should not do, but I would argue that if, say, the company decides to come in and remove bags, it is within a citizen's purview to uphold the law and uphold the most recent rulings from those laws to ensure that the cameras are then rebagged. And if the city's not going to do it in a timely fashion, a concerned citizen has the right, since a judge has ruled, yes, this is the decision, to then help enforce that decision and uphold the law. Because laws don't uphold themselves, citizens uphold laws. And
Right.
so if we aren't willing to be the enforcement mechanism, who is? And what is a police officer going to say if you go in and say, here's the court order that said that flock safety cameras need to come down, and if they don't, they are bagged until they come down. Well, I saw one that didn't have a bag on it. So by this court order, I am following the law to rebag it until the city comes and puts an official one on. I do not see any flaw in that argument, but that's also my personal bias on my own argument. But I'm just saying here is get
Yeah.
creative and do things peacefully. That's peaceful and patriotic because you're upholding the constitutional law, you're upholding order, you're providing privacy, because the Constitution was about holding private ownership and private rights, mostly for white people and slave owners, yes. However, that's been much more expanded in modern times to include a lot more people. You have the right to some privacy. You do not have it is a constitutional violation, in my opinion, of your right to not be unduly searched or seized. I would say that living in a state where you are constantly surveilled is unreasonable search,
Yeah.
because you have to consent to pretty much everything else. Why do I not have to consent to have my life surveilled? Like, I've consented to so much else, I didn't consent to that. And so there's no freedom there. It's the illusion of freedom. Often security feels like the illusion of freedom, or freedom feels like security because you're safe. You feel free because you're not worried about violent crime. Well, the violent criminals are the ones putting the cameras up to prevent the non-violent citizens from living peacefully. Oh shit, we lost her for a second.
Melissa.
See? Oh, she's back. They're coming after us. Flock safety's after us. They don't like us. Joke, flock safety. I don't care about you. I just want you to stop surveilling us. So, Melissa, what are your thoughts on... Can you hear me? Melissa? Shane, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear Melissa.
I can hear Melissa too.
But I don't think Melissa can hear us.
No, I don't think so.
Which means we should talk about her in front of her face about how awesome she is.
That's
and
right.
how everybody should subscribe to Melissa, because she can't hear us. So we're just going to talk good shit about her.
Doing good work.
And
Yeah.
She's doing really good work.
Really good work. And we really appreciate her and everything she does. And
yes.
she's absolutely killing it. What she did over at Blue Ant Media.
I can't hear you. I may have to drop out and come back. I can't hear.
And it is really
she'll be back.
She will be back. But man, I don't know. It's like everything you just said. I'm so frustrated because it's like, she's like, well, you take down the camera, you bag the camera, you know, now that corporations are people, it's like personal damages. It's like the law itself is just blatantly oppressive. I mean, like, and the police
Yes.
are willing to comply. And you know, it's like one of those situations where it's like, it's almost like you know, it's a straight up trap, man. Like, there's just no, you know, you put the bag over it. There's a good comment. It's like they're gonna come and find some form of damage on it, and they're gonna prosecute you for that too. And then you have to go to court, and it's like, okay, you have to go to court, but it's like, at this point, it's like just you know, fucking flipping a coin whether your judge is gonna be you know, sympathetic or a corporate lobbied individual. And that's where it's like, the more, you know, I struggle because it's like, it's not like the information about the corruption or the illegality or the violation of the Constitution or any of those things aren't out there. You know, it's not like the Senate didn't do a full investigation into the actions and ongoing actions, you know, the actions of Jared Kushner in his 2016 capacity all the way through his 2021 capacity. Like, all these things are public knowledge, yet for some reason he's still not in jail, despite the verifiable fact that he leaked top secret state information. The same goes for Flock. The same goes for anything else. It's one thing to document. It's another thing to, you know, and I think about these World War II veterans, and I'm just, you know, going to reminisce here. Okay. But, you know, a lot of these people would tell you, you know, some people get fucking arrested. Sometimes that happens. You know, I remember talking to my, you know, my grandparents and, you know, some of my older, you know, oh yeah, back, you know, in Vietnam and whatever, like, we all got fucking arrested protesting. Like, you know, like, there's a certain amount of collective like, there was more collective action in a sense. Whereas if you have enough people protesting, you know, and they arrest 20 people, it's much harder to make an example out of 20 people who are trying to take down, running around the town, you know, taking down these cameras, in a hypothetical situation like this, where, you know, these people are over this shit. And this kind of world we live in now, where it's very easy to make an example of somebody, and you know, that
Yeah.
really is the you know, the MO that it's just example of every person. And then you have to be lucky enough to get a judge who still believes in the Constitution. Like,
Right.
it's all 50-50. Like, there is no legal standard in this country. And I struggle because I want to have some sort of faith in a legal system. But I also think that, you know, to a degree, that's misplaced, to misplace that faith that it's going to work out for someone, because it's not, you know,
Yeah.
it's just not. Like, how many times has Kilmer Abrego Garcia, you know, been fucking rearrested by ICE despite the fact that the court said he couldn't do it? I mean, like, you know, I remember going way back to the beginning when I'm telling people months and months ago, they said the courts are going to rein him in, Shane. Don't worry. I said, the fuck they are. The fuck they are. And now I mean, like, it's like a disunified, kind of split camp, where you have a lower federal court judge say no. I saw something in the chat, Nora, no, you know, some act basically that limits judge rulings to specific cases. So no more blanket injunctions, things like that. And you know, even if we do get the blanket injunctions, they've streamlined the methodology to push it through the shadow docket all the way up to the Supreme Court to have the injunctions lifted. So it doesn't matter. And you know, I hate to fucking be this guy. I do, but like, what, like, I would love a solution. Like, I would love for someone to tell me the way around that. Okay. Like, I would love to fucking hear that, but I cannot give it to you. I have not heard or seen anything that is a credible and realistic solution to this problem. And I'm tired of just sitting around kind of pretending like it's not like the most fucking glaring issue we're facing, because there is no fucking law in America. It does not exist. And like you said, Nick, if the people don't enforce the law, what is the law? And we're not really fucking enforcing it either. We're letting it be kind of haphazardly enforced by judges who are vulnerable. And you know, if they rule the wrong way, they're subject to certain pressures. You know, this is a slippery slope. And if you know, this slope is not, it's accelerating. It's accelerating. And this is not the America it was 3 months ago. This is not the that we're looking at them potentially overturning the 14th Amendment, guys. Like we're looking at them literally setting the stage to gut the Constitution with the Supreme Court ruling on birthright citizenship, guys. Like this, and I'm telling you, if
we have a rogue Supreme Court.
Right. Yeah. But the Supreme Court does like that. Lower judges or not, they don't care. The Supreme Court, like the Supreme Court sets the precedent. That's our system. That's where we live. Right. So if they green like gutting the Constitution, it's just a cascade from there, because then if you can just slap an amendment out of the Constitution arbitrarily like that, everything's on the table. Free speech is next. Like it really is like, it's really that. I don't mean to be a bad news fairy. I don't mean to, but like, I don't have a solution. And like, as we talk about these things, I don't see a solution that really fits the thing, the path that I like, that we embrace and endure here, and consider like as our like, I really am like open to ideas, because I'll tell you, but
maybe I'll give you a little bit of positivity just out of like my life experience, and maybe Nick will resonate with this. You know, we knew that our nation was doing unspeakable things.
Is that on me?
Can you hear me?
Are you still?
I'm back.
I can hear everybody.
Okay. You know, we knew our nation was doing unspeakable things in Guantanamo Bay as early as 2004, right? But it wasn't until 2008 and the economic crash that most Americans got off their ass and were willing to step forward and say, we have a major problem. Like, and people started protesting, and there began to be an Occupy movement. And, you know, we are heading into, without a doubt, I've talked to a few other people this morning about this, we are heading into a depression, and it's going to be a bad one. And when people's personal finances are completely gutted in their household, is when they're going to start stepping out of their homes and sort of wiping the sleep from their eyes and saying, what's going on here? Right? Because that's what it took last time. I mean, we were committing atrocities in Iraq for 5 fucking years before anybody in America, before collective crowds of Americans got out on the street and said, what's going on? Because it had to hit their wallet first. And so, first things first, January 31st, a whole bunch of MAGA households are going to get a piece of paper from their health insurance companies that say, hey, we've been trying to contact you about your payment. If you don't pay by the end of this month, we're going to cancel. And it's going to dawn on them. They're going to be like, oh, that was real. The libtards were right. Oh my God. What do you mean I have to pay you $2,000 for my health insurance? I thought this was a fucking fake. I thought this was fake news. So when it hits their fucking bank account, you're gonna see the tide turn, because it's happened before. It happened in 2008. The Occupy movement started rising up in 2008 and like hit its crest in 2011, 12. when people were like, we don't have the money to make ends. My house just got foreclosed on and I'm underwater in it because I bought it for 275. It's valued at 225. I'm fucked. I got nothing out of that. I lost 50 grand in this fucking house, which is my story, which is exactly my fucking life story. So, you know, when it hits people's bank accounts in a very real way, when people realize they don't have health insurance, when that really sinks in, you're gonna start to see more action. Like I'm gonna project that out. Maybe I'm being optimistic, but we've been here before, not to this level, but I think people are going to start waking the fuck up and starting to act when they realize, oh my God, I'm actually destitute right now.
Yeah,
I don't disagree with that.
There's a delay effect, I think, in the hit of this so far, because I would argue that we're already in a depression. It just we haven't realized it yet, because like we've been losing jobs. We've been in negative job numbers for months, pretty much.
Yeah.
Then all the job numbers are fake. Like,
And they're
you can't believe a fucking
right?
word that the government is saying. They didn't collect any information in the month of September. Like,
Right.
there's a missing month of jobs numbers. Like, they're just, or was it October? It was October. They didn't collect.
And if you're killing
didn't
it, why
collect at
wouldn't you be
all.
out here publishing it? Right?
Yeah,
if you're
they didn't.
winning.
Yeah. So it's, and just to respond to folks in the chat, we know Substack is having issues with audio and sound. I will make sure for the post show that I download the recording from Restream itself and repost it up and on Substack for Banner and Backbone, so that I know that it's not broken up at all and fracturing. But like, I think we're in a depression already. I think we're just, because we're already starting to see bankruptcies. We're starting to see people put in bankruptcy notifications or getting ready to file for bankruptcy. And I think like that's a fucking problem that's going to get super, super bad. And it's going to hit families that, like you said, Melissa, it's going to hit the ones that needed to be hit. To be honest, they need to be hit. It's going to hit them hard really, really fast and really, really soon. And they're not prepared for it. And they're going to be the ones who go into the streets, not us.
Yep.
It's also not just going to be those poorer income people. It's going to be the upper middle, the lower upper class who has heavily invested in a lot of these consumer ventures, these consumer goods that are imported from China, Taiwan, Vietnam. You have it, all these cheap importer, exporter. You're like, I've been saying this for a while. Like it's going to hit Q1 2026. That's when this is going to happen. It's been a full year of tariffs. And I can tell you, like, I have insight into the e-commerce world. Okay. Like I understand this space. I know kind of the sentiments of the companies, the general, what's the word? The general kind of feeling of the air is desperate. You can tell that these companies are starting to get desperate, whereas smaller, like more insistent, well, we should do, what's going on here, like I need you to make me more money doing this, whatever, right? That kind of pressure, very human to move your problem onto someone else, make it their problem to fix it, right? What you're seeing, and these companies are 500 $600 million asset valuations, right? These are, technically speaking, these are not necessarily small organizations. They're not, Target or Walmart, but it's like an entire subsection of the economy that is just going to be killed, you would still technically consider these a small business in a sense, because they're smaller in structure organizationally. It's gonna go, and so you're also gonna have all of these people who suddenly had a lot of money have no money. Now the question really remains, and I think the big thing about all of this is what these kind of factors, because there's the structured collapse that is being engineered, but then there's also the extraneous factors that are making, I think, the environment exponentially worse than the environment that was intentionally curated. But the state of the economy itself is undoubtedly beyond beyond fucked. You look at the newest controls China just put in response to the seizure of the carrier, the Skipper, and the steel that they have put under controls effectively turns off our ability to build power infrastructure at all. Like this is like, there's things that were intended, right? The big tech bubble, like these things, the real estate refinancing from the rates cuts, because they had almost $1 trillion in real estate loans that were going to come due in December. So when they cut rates, they were able to refinance almost $1 trillion worth of bad real estate loans. So that's why they, needed to cut those rates. And so, there's just things they've planned, and the people are going to go hungry, and the health insurance premiums are going up, and all of these things. But you're also going to see, I think, what's interesting, what's going to take this from, which was probably intended to be a very bad recession, for the purpose of consolidation and extraction of wealth from the middle class, is going to become a massive depression. And mind you, here's one last thing that I've been thinking about, and very much goes in line kind of with the Palantalk, but all of the things, all these controls that affect the ability for the defense industry to make weapons, for big tech to make drones and data centers and all these things, these are also the things that are essential for crypto mining. What do you think is going to happen when they have, like, if you have to pick, right? If you have scarcity and every single massive initiative that you are invested in needs the same pool of resources, which is not only finite, but nearly non-existent. And all of that capital is tied up in something that cannot be realized due to a real, tangible, physical supply shortage. What happens to that economy?
Crashes. Everything.
Everything.
Crashes when, we also have to remember too, on top of our own internal economic issues that are going on, where we as the United States are about to basically be slammed with sanctions by our allied countries, because
You think that's going to happen?
We're becoming a rogue nation. Oh, fuck yes. I think Canada's already preparing for it.
Really?
EU is already preparing for it. They're going to stop doing, they're stopping depending on us in basically every way. They're basically going to sanction us without sanctioning us unless they really have to officially. Like, they're going to do everything they can to cut ties with the US economy. And that's going to double down on the damage. And it's going to hit people even harder. This is going to be bad. 2026 is going to be a bad fucking year. Sorry, putting it out there. It's going to be a bad fucking year.
But I think we need to inform people. Like, I've been telling people, I just now remembered to check because I drive by the Port of Virginia in Norfolk every day on the way home. And it used to be so full of containers. All you saw was a wall of containers. And if there was a break in it, you saw more containers behind that. And now it's half empty, if that. And when you look on the Port Authority's website, I mean, all this is public information. you can see the top 10 biggest importing ports in America are significantly down. And then there's couple that with the fact that I'm the primary purchaser in my house. I buy the groceries, I buy clothes, I buy household goods. And I've noticed there's much less variety of items available, and the items are significantly less quality. And the size of packaging for food is a fucking joke. They have shrunk. You know, they call it inflation sizing. They have shrunk what's actually in the package. So you used to have 15 ounces of cereal. Now you have 10 ounces. Plus, it costs $1 more for a box with 5 less ounces in it. So our food costs have gone up exorbitantly. Not only are all 3 of my adult kids now living back at home with me for their own financial reasons, the cost of food going up in that way. That's that tricky thing where you look at the box and the price of the box may not be that different than it was a couple months ago, but you have to actually look at what's in the box, what actually comes in the box. And then you see, oh shit, if I actually look at the price per ounce now, they've doubled the price of this in a year. So
and one of our responsibilities here too is we're not just a microphone or a megaphone at Banner and Backbone. We give you guys actionable things that you can do. One of those is in the top right hand corner next to Shane's head is the Feeding America QR code. You can donate there to our team. Every dollar is 10 meals. Every dollar is 10 meals spread out across food banks. Like that's an incredible like return on your investment. You can feel good about donating to Feeding America. We don't touch that money in any way. It goes directly to Feeding America. It just goes through our team name, and that's it. We're on a $20,000 goal for our entire Substack team. That includes Counterstory Media, the Firebrand Project, Sick of the Shit Publications, the Opinionated Ogre, others. A lot of us, Gen Xe with Dana Dubois and Lawrence Winterman, like it's a community event. It's a community thing. Also, part of what we want to do is simplify some of these processes, like the FOIA request process. But like Melissa said, it's not an easy process to put in a FOIA request. It's not an easy process to go through your town hall's meeting notes and find when and if they ever talked about flock safety or any type of traffic camera systems that have been put up in your communities, because you have to either read through all of them or download all of them and then do some search and find in them, either put them in AI or do a Control F and find things. But you actually have to search all of these things. It takes time, and then you have to go and talk about it, and you have to be informed so that when, say, you go to a city council meeting, you don't sound like a fucking idiot. That's the one thing you want to make sure too, is you're well prepared for a city council meeting. You want to know when and if it's ever been talked about, so you can go in and say, hey, this was talked about on this date. You said this many cameras might be put in. We're now at this many cameras. When were these ones approved? When was further authorization done? And if there's no talk about data retention, about things like that, that's where we will get them. It's not, and this is where like we try and do a little, I think, where we give some hope and like actionable hope. It's not just false hope. Is this paper trail of information and all of these folks who put in and put FOIA requests in and get this paper trail out there and into the public sphere, even put it all through AI and just say, hey, put this into your database basically and tell me how many times any of these systems and surveillance systems were ever talked about, and say when they weren't, and prove in public opinion, because we have to win public opinion. It's an information war that we're in right now, and we're losing because there's still surveillance systems and stuff out there. We can win it though if we do the actionable thing of saying, hey, get all these records out there so that when it comes time to make legislative decisions, the citizenry can go, hey, we have pushed back on these court orders. There's court precedent. There's this, saying that you need to get all of this shit removed for us. And when it happens, we go, hey, look, we won. And if it doesn't happen, there's a fallback mechanism in the Constitution. Our founding fathers and founding scholars wrote about the fallback mechanism in the Constitution on how to defend a citizenry from tyranny. And at some point, we may discuss that fallback mechanism much more openly. For now, I won't, because that fallback mechanism is the extreme fallback mechanism. And I'm pretty sure most people understand what I'm talking about. That said, we have a lot of paths still ahead of us. It's just going to get a lot worse before it gets any better. And so you have to come into all of this with your eyes wide open.
Yes.
Your financial situation is not going to be as good in 3 months as it was 3 months ago. It's not going to be anywhere near as good in a year unless you are actively participating in the organizations that promote fascism. And what I mean by that is if you are actively in the stock market, buying stocks and options and bonds and anything from a corporation that is funding fascism, you too are funding fascism.
Correct.
Your dollars can go a long way if you stop investing in the companies that fund fascism. Divest from the fascists, and then find companies that are publicly traded if you want to, or private companies like ours and our businesses and our personal businesses, and fund us instead. Put that money in entities that you care about and that you will get a return on investment for. Don't fund the fascists. Take your money out of the stock market if you are actively funding organizations that fund fascism. And tell them why you're selling your stock too. You can say that. You're publicly allowed to just say, I'm selling my stock because you support fascism.
Absolutely.
Period. End of story. Good job. Thank you.
One last thing I'd like to note is worth checking. For those of you, if we're talking about the situation financially, look, if you have a pension, you really need to look into seeing how your pension has been invested, because a lot of these pensions, when they were looking for capital, invested in credit card debt-backed securities. Okay. One of the things that's going to happen is that those pensions are going to implode when the credit card debt itself implodes. So I'm not an analyst, I'm not a financial, but what I'm telling you is that you really need to look into this, because if, pensions have long been considered like the gold standard of retirement, and these people are going to compromise, your life savings. And if it's possible to move that money into something like gold, silver, real hard, physical, tangible assets, you really should try and do that, especially if you can. Like, I don't have a pension. I will never have a pension because I'm 25 and those have long been gone. But if you do have a pension, it's really important you understand exactly what your financial situation looks like, exactly how your portfolio is spread out, and where it's vulnerable. Because, like Nick and Melissa and I are saying, it will get worse, undoubtedly. And at least if you kind of know to look, maybe you can minimize the damage and better weather the storm that is to come. So that's just worth noting, something that I have observed in my research, trying to understand the scope of things. So
yeah, and on that, I think that's a great segue is careful with your investments. Do some investigation of your own, like Timothy Snyder would say in On Tyranny, is investigate your stocks, investigate your options, and move your assets to where you have value and the company that you're invested in has value too. And with that, let's take off to space because let's invest in space because Shane sent me a image today that we're going to share here soon about the cosmic expansion.
Yes.
And I'm going to hand it over to you here in a second, but welcome back to space, y'all. It's Space Talk section of Palantalk, where we go back and stop caring
This
about.
is my favorite.
We get to stop caring about shitheads like Peter Thiel and Stephen Miller and Elon Musk for 15, 20 minutes and enjoy some space and learn something, because that's what we're here to do too, is educate. And the more you learn, the better. And Shane has some really cool stuff that he brings to us about space every week. And I always learn something new. So let's get into this one. Let me share my screen with the image. And Shane, take it from here, brother.
So for those of you who have long been, with Palantalk, in the Space Talk, you'll notice a couple weeks ago I was talking about how there's a new theory suggesting that the universe itself was 23.7
roughly twice as old as we thought.
Twice as old as we thought. Yeah. So what are you doing, girl? What are you doing? So, in that sense, as a person who loves science and also appreciates that it is absolutely theoretical in every way, and we're dealing with hypothesis, I wanted to talk about a potential different explanation for that very same idea. And most of the things that we are seeing come out of JWST beyond the obvious being able to see farther, is that all of our discoveries regarding the age of the universe are being challenged by the JWST's ability to look at redshift all the way back to the universe and its inception. So one of the things I thought that was interesting is I was kind of just perusing my my space content, if you will, is you have this kind of idea that we don't really understand. We understand that there is cosmic expansion. We might not necessarily understand the rate in full. And one of the interesting things about this is if they're looking back into the universe and they see, a galaxy, okay, that, formed 13.4. And I want to point out that the early universe is predicted to be 13.5 billion years old. They're seeing something that formed supposedly 13.4 billion years ago. That would suggest that the earliest galaxies that we're seeing formed in the first 800,000 years of the galaxy, of the universe, sorry. But they're also so far away. In some case, they're measuring, 46.5 billion light years away. Well, how is that possible if the universe itself is only 13.5 billion years? How could you have some light travel longer than the distance of the observable universe? And it kind of, creates like the existence of the universe. It's almost paradoxical in a sense. But I thought this was a really great example of how, cosmic expansion can potentially be misleading, or another example of maybe why you're seeing, this doubled redshift. And I love this example, but it's like a balloon, right? So how could you have light traveling farther than the universe itself has existed, while simultaneously also, while the universe itself is, let's say, 13.5 billion years old, which is questionable. It could be double, it could not be. We are in the middle of a massive void. We've talked about the voids and the filaments of the universe and how, expansion is probably not uniform based on the amount of matter, specifically dark matter, and how that interacts with gravity. It can slow or speed up the rate of expansion dependent on how much mass is present to really pull on that dark matter. So when you have something like this distant galaxy, like you see in this picture all the way to the far right, and you have a universe that is, let's say, 8 times the width of, and width is a bad word, but I guess the diameter of the known length of the existence of the universe, it then goes to show, well, maybe you can get these redshifts because of cosmic expansion and the fact that it may not be uniform. The best example here is this idea of a balloon. So you have the Milky Way in this distant galaxy, which originally are basically really close to each other in the early universe. However, as the rate of expansion increases, you're going to see them move farther and farther apart, because as it expands, these two things are going to stay generally in their point on the balloon, right? The dot on the balloon is not going to move. What's going to move is effectively the balloon itself. The medium they're located on itself will get bigger and bigger and bigger. The dot will stay stationary, but it will move as the balloon gets bigger. And so now you have this situation where you basically have the expansion of the universe versus the light itself. Now, where my brain explodes, full transparency, is I don't understand how you can have light from 93.8 billion years ago reaching Earth that has been around from where it is. So either light somehow expands, but then you also have this issue of how we're in kind of the theory of the cosmic wall, where eventually it's going to expand, right? The vacuum is going to expand so far away from us that we will eventually be in a sky where it's just dark, because universal expansion is going to be faster than light, and the light will never, ever reach us. So I guess what's interesting about this to me is how you really understand, when you're looking at cosmic expansion, the scale at which the universe is moving, and whether or not what that means for us as we observe these redshifted universes all over, and how far we're able to go back, right? But it's such a weird kind of paradoxical thing to think about, where it's okay, this galaxy is 93.8 billion light years away from us, right? At the rate that light travels, the light from that star, those stars in that galaxy, has taken, or should have taken, 93.8 billion years. But we know the galaxy is 13. No, we theorize the galaxy is 13.5 billion years old. That is the prevailing theory that is most generally accepted right now. I don't know. It just kind of it's interesting that you can see on the the balloon. It makes sense, right? It's okay, well, you put it on a balloon. The balloon is the universe. The balloon blows up. And actually, Alex makes a great point. Light doesn't experience time, and so light, as far as light is concerned, the photon that started 93.5 billion years ago, 93 billion years ago, when it reaches your eye, it's still that exact same instant as far as the photon is concerned. Now, my question is, I think, and I could be wrong, but I think that light does have physical constraints in regards to the speed at which it moves. It cannot move, if the expansion rate is faster than light moves and it's far enough away. My question, I guess, is at what point does expansion outpace the light itself, so that we wouldn't even be able to see that light because it has been it's expanding as that light is traveling. So is it stuck, right? Like it almost seems kind of like it would infinitely expand away. I don't know if that kind of, I know that probably is like ridiculous, confusing. But
I think now we could actually identify that theory. We could test that because we could start looking at, and it would take a long time to actually like validate a theory like that. I'm saying hundreds of years of research is we could point telescopes now at very specific, very far away galaxies and portions of the galaxy that we can see and see if they change, and how the light and the time possibly, but then that's still based on our perception of the light getting to us. The thing that makes all this possibly, or at least to me, is interesting, I think the idea of the balloon is, I would more argue that we're actually, and this is just me, not a astrophysicist or somebody on that end of this, is it feels like we're more in like a balloon with other balloons or bulges on parts of the balloon, where because things expand at different rates and say parts of the expansion happen at different times, like our galaxy may be expanding in this direction at a slower rate than the overall, or at a faster rate than the overall galaxy. So we're getting stretched within the bubble, so it would bend, but we're not the only one that's happening to. So it's like that, those weird like shaped balls that have all the bumps on the outside that aren't exactly the same size, so it bounces all weird. That's sort of more what I imagine we would be going through, and I don't know how that might affect, say, gravitational lensing of time, or light, and how like that could shift the way we view light going through, and how distance might work, because we may think we're further away from something than we actually are if we're, say, in a bubble that has allowed us to see it from a different angle, so it looks really, really far away, but in fact it may actually be really close. So the light has actually taken that much time because, say, it's had to go in an arc around a bubbled structure, and we're just seeing it from a different angle finally.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. So first thing, I agree. And I think that's a good hypothesis. But there's a good comment here, and I want to answer it because the question is the sunlight we see at times artificial? So the answer, and this is maybe a good way to kind of give a more tangible, real example that we can then use to help understand kind of this more complex topic. So the sun it's not artificial, but we know that it takes 8 minutes for light from the sun to reach Earth. Okay, so if the sun went out tomorrow, we wouldn't know for 8 minutes, because the light from the sun would still be traveling to us for 8 minutes, and then we would be like, oh shit, the sun's out. The reason being is that light acts kind of as a wave and a particle. It's very strange. So, which is why you have that infrared, that redshift we talk about, being the kind of the way you see on the picture, right? How it goes like this. So it can't really make up its mind. But the interesting thing about the photon in particular is that it, like we said before, doesn't experience time. So the photon itself may take 8 minutes to reach here, but the photon doesn't, for as far as the photon is concerned, it's been, right? So the question then it becomes is, no, none of the light is artificial. And I think Alex has generally the idea of it in that, it's more, I think, my, process my brain leans to, and I was doing a little reading for clarification here on the side, but it's in line with what Alex is saying. It says the photon is moving at the speed of light, which is the fastest that you can go. However, if the pace of cosmic expansion outpaces the speed of light, then the photon moving at the same speed that it has been moving the whole time is basically racing against cosmic expansion. Now, as long as it can either keep pace or say some degree behind, it will reach where it's going. But if it gets too outpaced, then the photon effectively, if you're trying to walk on a rope, right, to the middle of a rope. So we're walking from one edge to the rope. But imagine the rope just keeps getting longer as you walk. So you're just walking to the middle, but if they keep lengthening the rope and the middle keeps getting farther and farther away from you as you walk, you will never reach the middle. Now, the photon is you and the rope is cosmic expansion. And your point you're starting at, the very same as the balloon, if you're trying to walk across the surface of that balloon, it's kind of that paradox where you can half the amount of space you walk indefinitely, right? You could say that walking 10 feet, you could walk half of 10 feet again and again and again until it becomes an infinitesimally small number value where it's like, well, you can't walk that far at all. Now imagine the inverse of that. And you essentially can never walk far enough. And that is how you're starting to get to this point where they can observe this crazy distance, but this light is still reaching us because it was emitted early enough that because of even at the rate of cosmic expansion, it does reach us. Oh, Nick, are you muted or am I crazy?
No, I'm muted. I like the idea that of the ever expanding desert, basically. You can walk in the desert forever and you just you're going on the hill. Imagine you're on a sand dune and you keep going up, but every step you take, you can never get to the top because the sand just keeps sliding out from under your feet. But it's still growing. It's still growing. You still see it. You're still trying. You can just never quite reach it. And I think that's cool. I think that's okay. And I think that's also a great way to ground us in the idea that we have a lot of work to do and we are going to reach at least one goal. We're not getting stuck on a hill and we're not going to go down this slippery slope forever. So we're going to return to Earth and return to Palantalk to sell ourselves a little and to build support from the community. So welcome to Banner and Backbone. I'm Nick Paro. This is Palantalk. We have been here for 17 episodes now, me and Shane Yirak. And so come support us here on Banner and Backbone. Help build the network. Help it make this continue to grow. So eventually, when Shane has some more time and I have some more time, we can do a separate space talk by itself. And because we know people want that. But also come support the network so I can actually pay Shane at some point for the work that he does and pay Melissa for the work that they do around Banner and Backbone and with me and supporting me, because that's the whole point of it, is we all need to grow and we're all here to grow together. So help support me so I can help do that. And go support friggin' Melissa Corrigan, because she is the best. She is the best at what she does. I know a lot of people who are very good, and the best at what they do specifically too. Melissa is the best at what she does, which is report truth. She reports hard-hitting, very informative military and veteran-related news. And she's not afraid to go out and do all the right things and live and talk the talk and walk the walk. So go follow her on Counterstory Media and subscribe to her. Melissa, sell yourself, my friend.
Thank you so much. As long as I'm continuing to report on Flock and have these drones outside my house, any amount of support is welcome to continue spreading the word. That's all I want to do, is spread the word and inform as many people as possible. So, I understand that we just had a conversation about the economy and everybody can't afford a paid subscription. But in these times, sharing and restacking is just as valuable as a paid subscription. So if you want to subscribe at the free level and then just share and amplify and get the word out on all these stories that I'm covering.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's a very important point, is free sharing is free.
Yes.
It also gets
Yes.
it out there. And there are a lot of people who you would not expect are getting the information that we're talking about. Because we're talking about truth, and we're not bashing people or their personalities unless they deserve it. We're bashing ideas, and we're breaking down, and
Yeah.
we're exposing the truth that people want to talk about. Melissa does a lot of that at Counter Story Media. And so help share her words, spread it, send it to your friends, give subscriptions, because then they'll probably send it to theirs too. Trust me, I know they do.
Thank you,
It's
Nick.
worth it. It's worth it. And then next, my good friend, Shane Yirak. Can't do this without you, brother. Shane and I have been doing this at least 17 weeks now, if not more, because we started doing it before we brought it over to Banner and Backbone.
I think we did like 6 episodes before. So
I don't even know, man. We've been doing this for a while, and
yeah,
I
it has been
really
a while.
enjoy it.
Yeah.
And go support him. He works his ass off. He's doing so much work, and he is having to pull back from some things to balance the amount of work that he's doing so that he doesn't burn out. So help Shane continue to burn bright and become a paid sub with him. Shane, what do you got to say about yourself, my friend?
Yeah. So, like Nick said, I'm kind of I'm trying to do a little bit of a reorg, figure out how I can prioritize the right things. One of the things I'm not going to change, Firebrand Project, Firebrand Report, geopolitical analysis, storyboarding, putting together kind of the larger narrative, and trying to kind of understand, connect the dots. So that's what I do every day. That's not going to change. Bigger focus on investigative journalism. So, less in terms of lives, per se, but actually you're going to get more information, net positive in terms of the things that I'm researching. So, but my goal has always been, as my heart, I'm a polemic essayist. I write essays. I investigate things. I ask questions. And that's what the Firebrand Project is about. It's about you guys joining me as Firebrands and asking those questions. I'm kind of like I try to be a launching pad. I want to arm you with information so you can go and ask these questions and talk about these things in your lives. So if you want to be part of that, if you want to engage in your, civic opportunity, some might argue your civic duty to go and discuss these things. And change the dialogue and to forge dialogue and to burn bright as part of the Firebrand Project. I welcome you to come and join me over here and keep doing that. I do my best, and I will continue to do that. That is my promise to you guys. And come be a free subscriber. If you can't become a paid subscriber, $6 a month. I do a paid subscriber live stream every Friday where we just hang out and watch YouTube videos and laugh, and it's really fun.
That's awesome.
And so you could always come do that as well. So it's a great way for you to kind of expand your horizons, go beyond the headlines, and be able to put together a lot more of the things you're seeing in your headlines with reality, and that's the goal. So come
Awesome.
join us over at the Firebrand Project.
Love it, Shane. Appreciate you, brother. And come join me at Sick of the Shit Publications. Yes. Help build the community there, because I know the word is getting out. I know it's being shared because I was told it was, and that it's making an impact, and that what we talk about is meaningful, and that people are hearing it, because we're bringing out ideas and we're talking about things that people really care about. We're not guising things in, oh, you have to believe it because you're a Democrat. This makes you a Democrat, or this makes you a Republican if you believe this or that or the whatnot. We have fucking issues with everybody. We have issues with all of them.
I've got so many problems.
And we know that so many other people do too.
Yes.
We know that you guys want positive role models and positive influences and positive discussions and things that actually matter to you. And that's what I'm trying to bring at Sick of This Shit Publications. Yes. With chronic illness and mental health discussions, with masculinity and positive, intelligent masculinity discussions, and as well as I'm trying to boost my friends in community building. We'll be working on some stuff in the background with my friends on our Chronically Ill show, with Beth Cruz and Soso, around some cool stuff that we are going to try and launch on Sick of the Shit publications to make it an even cooler space for creativity and positive joy building and community building. So look out for that. We're going to be doing some cool stuff there too. Expanding all around because I want to help other people get their stuff out just as much as mine. And then again, joining us here on Banner and Backbone. I co-founded this with Lawrence Winterman, and originally with Frederick Pogue, and we wanted to bring you guys truth, civic engagement, and action. And I've been able to work alongside and with some amazing, amazing people like Shane, like Melissa, like Ellie Leonard, like Walter Ryan, so many more. And everyone around us, and I'm sorry for those who I did not name, but keep this community building. There's 300 of you here right now as we're getting ready to close the show on Substack. Even with technical difficulties, y'all stuck with us. Y'all continue to hang out with us. We appreciate you. And this is a place, Palantalk is a place where we talk tech and no fascism.
No fascism.
Because that's what we want. We want tech with no fascism. So thanks, everyone. Let's go have a brighter afternoon and go do something actionable today. And we'll try and have a good day.
Touch some grass.
Go touch grass, because there's a lot of terrible reporting that we didn't even talk about today. Didn't even acknowledge. Also, final point, happy Hanukkah to everyone who celebrates. Tonight is the second night of Hanukkah. If you get this recording on the day that it airs, it'll be the second night of Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah to everyone except Stephen Miller and the other techno-fascists and ultra-Zionist assholes. I hope you all step on a dreidel, and I hope that every single one of your candles blows out early and that the light of the menorah does not shine upon you.
Absolutely.
I hope you have a shitty-ass Hanukkah, because fuck you.
Absolutely.
You're assholes, and you're ruining it for the rest of us. And a bunch of Jewish people got murdered this weekend because of people like Benjamin Netanyahu and the violent rhetoric. So I hope y'all step on dreidels. I hope your gelt is melted and you lose every dreidel match this year and you don't have any chocolate candy and chocolate money, because screw you and your happiness. You're trying to take from ours. So
go eat a toast.
With that happy note, happy Hanukkah to everybody else. I hope y'all have a great day, and go have some tech with no